Tom, aka Gedeon here for Star Frontiers Gamer. And we have a response video because there's been some really good comments coming on the Void Space video that we did. I'll put a link in the show notes if you haven't seen that already. And yes, I misspoke in the previous video. It is 180 hexes of speed, not distance. I called it distance. I was totally misspeaking, but the ship needs to get up to 180 hexes per turn, and it'll do this. If you have an ADF of 1, it'll accelerate by 1 hex per turn, 6 turns in an hour. Do the math. You're about at ADF of 1. You are about a day and a half to accelerate to void jump speed. And just for a note, that's not a 24-hour day. That's a 20-hour day since it's Galactic Standard Time. So, yes, that is issue number 1. I misspoke, and I apologize. Issue number 2, there was a question about robot astrogators. And I have to say, yes, robot astrogators have been a thing in the Frontier. Let's start with the assault on Starship Omicron. I believe this came out even before the Star Spawn of Volturnus module, because this introduced the Cybo Dragon and then referenced that it would be in the Star Spawn of Volturnus module. And so this is very early material for Star Frontiers. And let's look at the introduction. I should say that this mini module came in the referee's screen. So that's where it is if you've not heard of it. So here's the introduction. The Starship Omicron, the pride of the Pan-Galactic Corporation, disappeared years ago on its first voyage. Recently, the ship was found drifting in space, the passengers and crew killed by a strange and virulent disease. The ship was decontaminated, refueled, and made ready for operations. The PGC has hired 8 adventurers to babysit the Omicron on her voyage back to a corporate starport. The ship is being automatically navigated by her computers and robots, and this promises to be an easy mission for the babysitting team. Oh, that it would be that simple. The next precedent is from the Warriors of White Light module, which the Warriors of White Light module was bundled with Nighthawks. It's the adventure to introduce the players to starship skills, so they join the Royal Marines, a space militia. They get trained, and then there's a series of 5 encounters to be their midshipman crews going through it. And so this is the Cybernetic Hijacker. The second adventure scenario pits the PCs against a spaceship operated entirely by robots. The robots are controlled cybernetically. The robots are controlled by a cybernetic, partially organic robot that is suffering from advanced senility. As an extra challenge, the players must subdue the Cybot and his robot minions while causing as little damage as possible. Yes, that's a bonus. You cause as little damage as possible. Ultimately, I think the Royal Marines are going to be happy to have their crew back alive and well. And too bad if a private corporation spaceship gets a little damage. It's covered by an insurance policy. Interestingly, this ship is called the Marionette, owned by Pan-Galactic Corporation. It's disappeared from 28 years ago. So it's an old ship. I don't know where it's been getting its fuel during all this time. Maybe it had a load of fuel that it was transporting. Would explain that. So here again is a cybernetic robot controlling robots and running a ship, implying that you would need a high-level robot, because a cybernetic robot is level 4, 5, or 6. And we just pull that right up. So here's the table. Cybernetic robots are level 4, 5, or 6. So I would say absolutely yes. Robots could be astrogators. Now, if you want a robot that's going to run the whole ship, then you want a Vicky from iRobot. You want the robot brain for running the entire ship and all the systems on a ship. Because of these incidents of the cybernetic hijacker and the Warriors of White Light module and the assault on Starship Omicron, these would be famous incidents that would make the press, be reported in the Frontier. I think you would have regulation or laws, either regulation passed by agencies that can pass regulations or laws passed by bodies that could pass laws that would prevent and limit or regulate the use of robotic astrogators. I think, number one, they would probably bar robot brains, anything that's level 6, from being a robotic astrogator. And the reason for that is because the level 6 robot can actually rewrite its own programming. And the fear would be that you would get a situation, again, like the Marionette, like the assault on Starship Omicron, where things go bad and people get killed. And so for that reason, I think they would bar level 6 robots from doing this by regulation. Very possible that they could, but by regulation, it would be illegal. It would be a violation of regs. It would be a violation of laws. So minimally, I think you would require a level 5 robot and nothing lower than level 5. You need that level of intelligence in a robot, that level of robotic processor is what you would need for the robot to do this. You also need a astrogation program that explains all the ins and outs of astrogation, so you don't have to write that into the missions and functions. Now, I went and checked. I've compiled. I'm working on a project of an omnibus project to have all the robots ever seen in the Frontier in any module, rule book, fan magazine, all in one place, and any robotic equipment ever seen in the Frontier, all those same sources, all in one place. And I went and checked, and I had not actually, and I had added, filled in holes, extra programs. And what's not in that list of programs is an astrogation program, which clearly needs to be there. And in curating that list, I have modified prices that people have put in. When most people price out programs, sometimes you get prices on a program that's 50,000 credits, 20,000 credits. That's not in line with what you see over here under special programs for robots. We have 500 to 4,000. So as I curated that list, I made the advanced medical program, which would allow a robot to do surgery, to do advanced medical skills on a sapient being. I priced out that program at 7,000 credits as I was trying to keep everything balanced and in line and seem sensible with everything that had gone before. Obviously, the primary precedent of weight is placed on these program prices. So I tried to keep everything else in line with it. So I priced the advanced medical program at 7,000 credits. Therefore, the astrogation program needs to be more or less in line with that, or maybe a little bit more, because that technically astrogation would be a more advanced program, since a first level character can take medical skill and is doing surgery right away. Whereas astrogation is something that does require some prerequisites. I don't require as much in the way of prerequisites as the next referee or as what is stated in Nighthawks, but certainly you could contend that astrogation is a more higher level program. So I'm of a mind to go with 8 to 10,000 credits for the astrogation program for a robot. And I'm going to say, let's just split the difference and call it 9,000 credits. And I will then add an astrogation program to that omnibus work that I'm still working on. So it needs to be a high-level robot. It could be a service robot. and then you won't have any problems with senile dementia, the organic brain breaking down with a cybernetic robot, or a cybernetic robot would work for a astrogator. The cybernetic robot might be more fun for the game master because then you could always introduce a little bit of schizophrenia or emergent schizophrenia in that organic brain, or senile dementia as we had with the cybernetic robot. Just because that seems like fun to me. I need a complication to make the lives of the player characters interesting. And so the cybernetic robot seems more viable to me. The players might want to be like, no, 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 we want the service robot. Level 5 service robot. So those would be your options. I think that again, the robot brain would be barred. They would not want a robot that's controlling an entire ship. That there's a little bit of a fear there because of these famous incidents that we have referenced. Also, I think there needs to be a financial value to using a robot astrogator in game. Why would companies bother with a robot astrogator if there's a danger? Historically, there's been a danger that these things go berserk and try to kill people and steal the ship, and the ship disappears for 28 years, like the Marionette did. Why? Well, right off the bat, a robot astrogator can work 20 hours a day, Galactic Standard Time day, and compute. So that right away would cut in half the amount of time it takes to compute a void jump over a Sapien astrogator, because the Sapien astrogator can work 10 hours a day, but not 20. They need to take time off and sleep. And they need some time off to, hit the head, hit the galley, get a bite to eat. So right away, the value is a robot astrogator is going to cut the time in half because it's working for that limited amount of time, 20 hours a day. I would also say that the robot astrogator, an AI astrogator, would shave time off the computational time. It just makes sense to me that you're going to have a time savings. Normally, I like to cut things in half, but let's say let's say that it's in half and in half. You're cutting it in half because he's working 20 hours a day. So instead of a 4 light year journey taking 4 days to compute, at a Sapien astrogator working at it 10 hours a day, it now takes 2 days to compute. But because it's a robot astrogator, it's shaving a little bit of time. So we'll cut that 1 day in half. We'll cut those 2 days in half, and it's only going to take 1 day now. So basically, you're getting a 50% savings because it just works round the clock. But you're then getting another 25% savings over the whole 4 day time, bringing it down to 1. So that would be my judgment, is to go with half just because it works 20 hours a day. But I'm also inclined to also cut it in half again. And that would be the impetus for companies to just go ahead and say, yeah, we're going to take the risk on a robot astrogator, because these controls of it's not plugged into all the controls of the ship. It's limited to level 5. It can't reprogram itself. That makes it reasonably safe. Makes it a reasonably safe use of technology on a starship. Maybe they don't allow for this on a starliner where you have all this passengers on board. For the safety of the passengers, it's completely barred, and it must be a Sapien astrogator. So maybe the company compensates by having 2. They work in shifts. So that would be how I would handle the robot astrogators in game. They very much are a part of the setting of the game by Precedent, 2 different adventures, no less. They're in. So I'm absolutely yes, they are a part of the game. I would allow them. And these are the rules by which I would then allow them. What would be your judgment? Go ahead and comment below. I mean, if you disagree with me, that's great. I'd love to hear your opinion. And this is Tom, aka Gedeon, for Star Frontiers Gamer. Thanks for watching my video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. And I'll see you in the frontier.